And thank you very much for doing this, professors. This is all for the benefit of the students. And we have more than 80 listeners already, and people are joining. The purpose of this debate is that students will gain as much information as possible, because, you know, as students, and I can say it myself, I was also a student in Central Europe, and students, many times they have so many considerations and so much information they gather from so many people, and it's sometimes difficult for them to decide, where should I study medicine? And it's a big decision, because it's not only the university, it's the place, the city, the country, but also in the university, there are many considerations. And there are many rumors. Students speak about how difficult it is and how the studies are structured, and they collect information from so many places. My aim today is that they hear the information directly from you, and the final aim is that it will be easier for them to say, okay, that's where we want to study. So I think that it would be good if you will first present yourself, your background, and maybe a few words about the universities. What we did during the week, we asked students to send us questions, and we chose the best 7, 8 questions that I will refer to you so that the students can hear the answers. And then we will collect also questions from our students, from our prospective students. Just for you to know, we have students here from Israel, from Sweden, Norway, Canada, UAE,
Denmark,
India, Denmark. So it's a group, very varied, and they will also be able, if you will allow us, to refer questions to you. So which one is older? I think.
Oh.
Yes,
all right.
Maybe you will start. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, first of all, for this chance to introduce the University of Zagreb School of Medicine. With MD International, we have a very rich and long-standing cooperation. So, dear Moshe, thank you for that. I would also welcome our dear colleague from Prague University, because Zagreb and Prague belong actually to the same circle of Middle European universities. I have to admit that Prague is older than we are in terms of School of Medicine. The University of Zagreb has been established in 1669 by, at that time, Austrian-Hungarian Emperor Leopold I. And His Majesty granted us liberties, but Prague is older. I cannot beat that, so I salute you. But nevertheless, the School of Medicine itself actually, although planned in 1669 to be inaugurated and established, started in 1917. Very briefly, it's the school that has approximately altogether 2,000 students. However, the international group of students is rather limited. So we hope to produce Rolls-Royce, not some kind of, confectioner car, to put it in a kind of simple words. And therefore, the annual intake rate is 50 students. So we enroll 50 students only. We would like to have and to provide actually to our prospective students very much direct teaching. Unfortunately, due to Corona, this is not possible at the moment, but there is a lot of contact or direct teaching going on. And the ratio of students and teachers is very optimal, I would say, in this setting. To my understanding, Prague is a little bit larger, but I'll leave it to Professor Brisman to tell us something about that. Okay, so we actually have a procedure for enrollment, and that is that we organize an entrance exam in physics, chemistry, and biology. Altogether, the entrance exam has 120 questions, and you have to pass, earn actually minimum 61 points. And also you have to achieve at least 15 points from each area. So it's a test, but also subtests that counts. So if you are not so, if your background is not so good in chemistry or physics, these are frequently the painful, let's say, areas for candidates, then please bear in mind these prerequisites. It's not good if you are excellent only in biology, but you should also cover very well other areas, that is physics and chemistry. The University of Zagreb School of Medicine has 14 special institutions. There are 2 universities hospitals that have more than 5,500 employees. So these are rather large institutions in Croatia, and each of them employs more than 1,000 medical doctors. University Center Zagreb is the top qualified university hospital in the country. So a lot of very complex operations like lung transplantation, heart transplantation, bone marrow transplantation, biobanking, etc., is performed down there. The hospital has 43 operational theaters in a very modern building that is called Operational Tower. We have, as I already told you, more than 1,000 medical doctors employed down there, and the scientific output and performance of the School of Medicine is significant. So on a famous Shanghai list, we are of course enlisted as first 500 universities, but the School of Medicine itself is at the ranking 150 on that list. So it contributes, I would say, mostly to the scientific output of the university. And I'll end with introducing myself. So I'm Davor Ježek. I'm Vice Dean for International Relations at the University of Zagreb School of Medicine. I have 2 arms, let's say. One is basic science, so I'm histologist and embryologist, and my clinical branch is andrology and male infertility. And you don't want to be my patient, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, Professor Brisman.
Thank you very much. I think it's fascinating to learn about Zagreb, a wonderful historic city, wonderful historic university. So, Shalom Kulam, Shmi Eitan Brisman. My name is Eitan Brisman. I'm the Vice Dean for International Studies here in Prague. I'll work backwards then. I'll start with myself. I'm from London, originally from England, and I studied as an international student here at the First Faculty of Medicine, Charles University, many years ago, when I had some hair. And just to quantify that, the hairstyles is not a prerequisite for studying in either Zagreb or Prague. You can have hair to study and work here.
Absolutely.
So after graduating from medicine here at Charles University, I went back to the UK, continued my postgraduate education as a doctor in the UK. I chose to specialize in surgery, in a specialty of surgery called oral and maxillofacial surgery, head, neck, and face surgery, which in the UK, as in many countries in the world now, has a prerequisite. You have to be dual qualified as both a doctor and a dentist, because that's quite a large percentage of the area that we work in. So I then was successful in studying at King's College in London in dentistry, and continued my career in the UK teaching and working in some of the top hospitals in London. Most recently at the Royal Free, which is one of the largest trusts in North London, and UCL Medical School, which is one of the top 10 medical schools in the world, as a teacher and examiner there. I returned back to Prague about 3 years ago, and only recently taking up this post as Vice Dean for International Studies here at the faculty. Our university, as Professor Jezek said, is old. It dates back to 1348, 672 years old. It's one of the oldest medical schools in the world. It's the oldest medical school in Central Europe, I think the 11th oldest in the world. And we are consistently ranked one of the top 1% of medical schools globally. To be honest, talking about a history is not so relevant. Of course, it gives us a certain prestige with that, but it's more important about what our studies are like now and what our teaching education for you guys are now, which is what I think Professor Jezek said very beautifully about Zאגרב. We have an intake of about 150 medical students and 40 dental students each year. So we have a total of international students, about 750 to 800 students being taught in English, either medicine or dentistry, at our faculty. Of those, at the moment, almost a third are from Israel, and percentage-wise, there's several others from countries around the world, including from Dubai, from Scandinavia, from the rest of them are from America and England, so on and so forth, Europe. We are one of few universities to have the American accreditation, the federal loan accreditation. So for American students who are applying for us, they get the full government grants and loans for studying with us, for tuition fees and for living costs. And we're one of only 20 medical schools outside of the US to have the esteemed Californian state accreditation. That's because we get consistently very high results in USMLE. And I think last year's result was about 93%. The average was about 93% from our students. We have affiliations with hospitals and universities around the globe, and we actively encourage our students to take part of some of their clinical rotations in those countries. And as sure as Moshe would have told you, for those from Israel, we have organization with several hospitals in Israel, as we have also in America, in Britain, in Germany, for our students to do part of the clinical rotations there. I think rather than you guys getting bored with my voice, I think it's more important that maybe you guys ask us questions, and we'll answer the things which you find interesting, because what you find interesting may not be what I find interesting to tell you. So I'll leave it then for you guys to ask more questions about us.
Yes. So before we take questions from the audience, we have, by surprise, a very honorable guest, the Dean of Charles University, who would just like to greet everyone. Professor Vakurka, are you with us?
Yes, hello. I am at least for a while here to greet you, to greet everyone, and thank you. I enjoyed very much your speeches and introductions of both faculties, so thank you very much.
Hello, glad to see you.
Yes,
we are all acquaintances due to Moshe's connection.
Yeah, it was great. We met several times in Tel Aviv and spoke about the ancestry and the relatives in both countries, and that's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will start. Thank you very much for joining us. It's our honor to have you here. We will start with questions from the students, and just to keep a good order, if it's okay, we will refer the questions to both of you. And Professor Ježek, you will answer first, and then Professor Brisman will answer as well. Is that okay?
If you agree, it's the matter of years and age, I guess. So it's not very flattering.
Okay. So first question, I will read the questions as the students wrote them to me. And the first question is, why, from your perspective, should I, as a good student, choose to study at your university? Professor Ježek.
Thank you. As I already mentioned, we offer a kind of a unique environment with a very good ratio between students and faculty members. So only 50 students could enroll into international studies per year, and the number of faculty members is sufficient to maintain, I would say, a high quality teaching. Let me mention that in 2015, we were actually distinguished by European Union. So we got a certificate for quality of internationalization, which was given by ECHA, that's one special subcommittee of European Union for accreditation of institutions in higher education. Just to mention to our Canadian colleagues, there is a possibility to get loans from Canadian government. So more specific, I think these are from Ohio, from one area in Canada, but it actually extends to all Canadian students. Unlike Prague, we don't offer specific student loans to US citizens, although you can actually have loans from our local banks to study. However, I think you will find both countries are quite reasonable in terms of costs here and in terms of, you know, hiring a flat, food, wandering around, and etc. And you'll get, I think, a very good ratio between the prices and the quality. So that would be in short.
Thank you very much. Professor Brisman?
You know, it's a very difficult question on where should you study. For me, myself, when I was in your situation, I remember exactly the same feeling of which university, where do I choose? And to be honest with you, medicine is the same the world over. It's the same medical technology, it's the same medical principles, it's the same diseases, it's the same treatments. And studying abroad rather than in your home country gives you the opportunity to really experience firsthand another culture, another language, another life. So you get to experience the world and life experience more than you would do, or your friends that have gone to your local university. Between Zagreb and Prague, you know, these are two beautiful historic cities. Both are extremely safe. I know the Czech Republic is counts as the 6th safest country in the world. And both have a fantastic history and cultural history going back thousands of years. Why Prague? You know, Prague is the capital of Bohemia, the capital of a country which has been open-minded for centuries, where in the start of the 20th century, it was known for people walking on the streets holding hands. It is very open-minded, but very forward-thinking. They have, you know, all the antivirus software that people use. They originate here, the technology from Prague and Czech Republic. To be honest, it's a personal preference of what you know, what you prefer. Each city is a metropolis that offers different cultures, different societies, different languages, all within one small, pleasant city. I think it's up to you to decide where you prefer, what environment you prefer, what maybe language you prefer, or, you know, between the two cities and the two countries, they're both very, very similar. Of course, I'm very biased, having studied here, experienced here. But I think the most accurate answer is you need to experience them yourself. You should come and visit, COVID providing, come and visit the cities, interact with our students. There's student union, the MedSoc, to speak with them and to see what our alumni have done, where they've gone to, what the possibilities are for you as students here. I think, as Professor Jezek again said, that the living costs, I think, are very similar and the conditions are very similar. So as for which one you should choose, of course, I would say that we're better, and of course, Professor Jezek would say that they're better. I think you should come and experience it yourselves to see.
Thank you very much. Next question. How does the university contribute to my learning to the licensing exam?
A very important question. Referring to USMLE, which is of rather significant importance for our Israeli students, I have to tell you that we have a USMLE office here in Zagreb and the liaison officer that takes care. One of our students that graduated from our program scored the best USMLE score ever. So he was, of course, now immediately employed at Harvard or somewhere else, I don't know, but immediately got a very prestigious position. And I guess the success rate is much similar according to my data, as to Prague. So we are very much comparable in these terms. So the university actually is offering this backup. The Canadian state exam is much similar, even more strict according to what I know. Students are offering mentorship for you. So senior students will take care of you. Especially Israelis are well organized, but the whole student body is called here in Zagreb EMED, English medical students, and they are very well organized according to the study year, and they provide actually a very good counseling service. I myself am very much, I think, open to any kind of consultations or anything you need from our medical studies in English office. And there are 5 employees that are doing the service to the students, and one is especially employed at the major university hospital to guide students down there, because as in any hospital, when you come in such a huge institution, you are a little bit lost, both as a doctor and a patient, because it's a meshwork of corridors and buildings, etc. So in short, I think there is a good local service. The English is wide spoken in Zagreb. This is also because of our touristic profile. I would very much, however, prefer to have a very strong economy in terms of industrial production as in Prague. But remember our beautiful Adriatic coast that has almost 1,000 islands is just a couple hours by car. So it's in a close proximity, but you should not be lured by these very nice landscapes of Adriatic coast. Occasionally you can, of course, visit, but you should be focused on your studies. So in short, I think we provide a kind of a very constructive microenvironment. And for some students, there is a possibility to get loans. I think the prices are also for tuition fees are quite reasonable in both cities. So when you compare it to any kind of US university, I think it's much, you'll feel a difference, of course. That doesn't mean that the program is of a poor quality. On the contrary, it's simply that the scales of, let's say, costs are different, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Brisman, I will repeat the question again. How does the university contribute to my preparation to the licensing exam, to the USMLE especially?
Because the majority of our students want to work abroad. They don't necessarily want to work in Czech Republic, where small percentages do each year, but most want to work in Britain, in the US, in Israel, in Germany. So we need to focus our studies according to the market that they wish to work in upon graduation. With that in mind, our clinical years, we are a 6-year course, like in Zאגרב. The 3 years are predominantly, the first 3 years are predominantly preclinical, the second 3 years are predominantly clinical, but of course there's integration from earlier on. But within the clinical years, we focus it, and we're focusing it more on the modern methods of teaching, the modern medical education, and especially on the USMLE. And as Professor Ježek said, that USMLE, the Canadian licensing exam, in Britain they're about to bring out the UK MLE in a few years' time. These are all very similar types of exams and methodology in examination. So we have pushed our clinical years education to being more in line with that. And we also provide various extra sources for our students, like the software Amboss for them to use, which is an education resource, a clinical education resource with more than 5,000 bank of questions for USMLE. And we have what's really useful for the practical parts of the USMLE, these licensing exams, is gaining the clinical practical experience in those healthcare systems. So that's why we actively encourage our students to do Erasmus or to work with our affiliated hospitals, universities across the globe, especially in the US, through organizations such as AMO and others, and likewise in Israel. And we're currently in negotiations with Sheba, for instance, in Israel as well, to provide more and more services for our students to gain at least a portion of their education in those countries, to be able to learn the real practical aspects of their education. And likewise, as Professor Ježek has it in Zאגרב, our students, because of this success rate, the international students are a very close-knit community here, and they're very good and very keen at helping each other out. And in fact, there is, I think, an organization, a European-wide organization of international students who speak together, collaborate for further information. But certainly, again, with our higher year students who have passed the USMLE, they do these tutoring, mentoring groups for the lower years to help them get through. It's in everyone's benefit for all our students to succeed as greatly as possible.
Thank you very much. Next question. How hard is it for me to get accepted to your university? Are there statistics, Professor Ježek?
I cannot offer you an illusion, so I'll tell you it's hard. The enrollment exam is, let's say, designed based on your actually college knowledge, and you should be proficient in biology, physics, and chemistry. And out of, let's say, an average 400 candidates, we choose 50. So you can easily calculate the acceptance rate ratio. But nevertheless, I think you should not be discouraged immediately by this data, and you should, push yourself and try to do it. It's designed for a kind of, let's say, higher qualified college student, I have to admit, because the top college students here in Croatia, they get enrolled in medicine program. So the same is with the English study. And I have to tell you that students also during their studies, because of their high performance and quality, they start to write papers, they strive to get the Dean's Awards, they strive to get Rector's Awards, and I'm happy that this very year we are going to promote and distinguish one candidate that has, I think, 15 published international papers, and she graduated from our program. Now, currently, she is specializing dermatovenerology, which is a very nice female, let's say, discipline, no offense. But I think we are also stimulating a kind of extracurricular activity. And I think the students are also striving to get good marks because there is a kind of internal competition between them. And that is a very good atmosphere.
Thank you very much. Professor Brisman, how hard is it for me as a student to get into your university? Do you have statistics?
As Professor Jezek said, it's not easy. If it was easy, then I'm sure that you would all be wondering why you should be applying to any of us. You know, Zאגreb and Charles University in Prague, these are not universities which you can just buy your degree and have a pre-printed diploma on the wall. These are establishments with history, with reputation, with world-renowned reputation. Both of them have, we've got several Nobel Prize winners and other things. These are top world first-class universities. So it's not easy to get in. We have every year about 1,500 to 2,000 applicants for our 170, 190 now places of 150 medicine, and this year will be 40 for dentistry. The entrance exam, because we take students from literally all around the world, so we need to have a hurdle at which we can compare all students around the world, because we need to take in the highest quality students because we want to produce the highest quality of doctors. So we also have a written exam, also based on biology, chemistry, and physics. But we have also progressed into a more modern system of MMI interviews, of multiple mini interviews, which is a system used, actually was a Canadian creation a few decades ago, which is used across Canada, across the States, Britain, and other places, where having passed that hurdle of the entrance exam, the multiple choice entrance exam, you're then invited to interview. And this is where you are assessed for your communication skills, your empathy, your critical thinking. It's not based on any prior knowledge. It's based on you as a person, how good a doctor or dentist that you will become. With that ratio of applicants to place, I have to say that the students from Dr. Cohen, his students do remarkably well, the ones that do the prep course. That obviously the course that they provide is a very good education and prepares them not just for the entrance exam, but prepares them for the studies. So, I mean, our first year is notoriously difficult. I mean, our anatomy department is one of the top 50 in the world in the QS rankings. And, QS rankings are not a fair way of looking at a university. And I think as Professor Jezek said earlier on, that yes, we rank higher, but this is because we have a larger university base. We have 3,500 medical students in our faculty alone. We have 17 faculties in our university. So we have a very high research output. And I think likewise, as Professor Jezek pointed out, research is a very important part of medical progress. And although within medical school, it's not competitive, I don't like the student to particularly compete against each other. There is also always a natural competition. The real competition happens upon graduation, because at graduation, that is when you are applying for a finite number of jobs in specific hospitals. And this is where, exactly as Professor Jezek said, that the research really makes a difference. So we actively encourage our students to do research. We have scholarships for our best students on a yearly basis, that those that achieve their highest grades in their exams, and we're also looking for scholarships for students who achieve extracurricular. And a number of our students have publications, even as first author, in some very high impact medical journals around the world. We also, because of this, because we're not easy, because neither Zאגreb or us are easy, we managed to achieve with our graduates for gaining jobs. And A very large number of our medical students have jobs, are offered jobs before they've actually graduated. So in their final year of medical studies, they are offered jobs by hospitals around the world for once they've graduated. We have consistently in the UK, we have a large number that get onto the foundation, the government training, the postgraduate training scheme, the foundation year training. And we are the only dental school outside of the UK to have students that have been accepted directly onto the vocational training, again, the government training scheme for NHS dentists. And that's happened for the last 3 years running. We're the first and the only school outside of the UK to have that success. To maintain this success, we need to have high quality students coming in, high quality education. It's your success, you as our students, that is our reputation. And that's why both in Zאגרב and for us, we have to have stringent exams. And that's why we have the large numbers and the ratio applying to us and to try and get the places here.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to tell you that we have 95 listeners as our audience. Next question. I heard that it's very hard, very difficult to study at your university. How hard will it be for me to graduate? Do you have statistics, Professor Ježek?
Yes, there is a very low, actually, when you got in actually in the program, there is a very low dropping out rate. And the success rate is relatively high, so it's more than 85%. Some of the students migrate, they are very dynamic and they would like to go to other countries, which is, as already mentioned by Professor Brisbane, possible due to Erasmus agreements or bilateral agreements. By the way, we have a very excellent cooperation with King's College London, so the world is very small, and quite a number of other opportunities that we offer. But I would, due to the high performance at the entrance exam, the failing rate, let's say, is relatively small. You should be very diligent. You should be, let me repeat again, not lured by beautiful beaches and girls on the beaches of Croatia. And you should be very, very much focused on your studying. That's why it is very important to use all possibilities. We have excellent learning management system that is based on Moodle. I can't tell you that I am very happy that we have to use it extensively under circumstances, because it's more or less digital and online learning. However, we managed in such circumstances as COVID-19 to organize a very high quality clinical rotations that are actually one in such a setting there is one faculty members and there are 2 students attached to the faculty members. This is also epidemiological measure, so we separate students in very small groups. But I think in such a setting, you can even gain better knowledge than when there are classical groups of 4 or 5 students per ward. I think we are also offering assistance and help in terms of mentorships of faculty and senior students, and a whole variety of platforms, digital platforms, especially in anatomy, that, to be honest, it's hardly to consume. So many materials are down there. So it is difficult, but if you rely on your diligence and your persistent, hardworking studies, you can manage very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Brisbane, how hard will it be for me to study at your university and to graduate, and if you have any statistics?
So again, like I mentioned earlier, if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. You have to work hard, you have to study hard to gain the knowledge, the skills, the abilities to be successful for the rest of your career. Our examination system is different to that of many other medical schools and dental schools around the world. And as a graduate of both here as well as King's College in London, one of the reasons I prefer the system here is because every exam is culminated by a viva, an oral exam. And this at first is a little bit confusing. This at first is a little bit surprising, especially having grown up in the British system in the UK, in London. I was certainly not used to having an oral exam. It was all written exams and possibly some MCQs, multiple choice exams. But in my 16 years of clinical practice, I can tell you for certain that I have never had any patient come to me and say, Dr. Brisman, could you please write me an essay, 2 sides, on my diagnosis? Or could you fill in this multiple choice exam on my medical problems and the treatments for it? It's never happened so far. Maybe it will, who knows? But every single patient that I see, every interaction is an oral exam. And that oral exam may be in front of their loved ones, their family, maybe in front of my nurses, maybe in front of my junior doctors, my medical students. And that is why our examination system here mimics more closely what you will be used to for the rest of your career. I think it's a really important note to understand, that we are really training you for being the best possible doctors, to be able to verbally explain to your patients their problems in colloquial terms, in layman's terms, in terms that the patient will understand, not just the medical language that you will learn. The education here is in English. We have lecturers, teachers from all over the world. We have many from the UK, and we have, like myself, we have from other places that come and give lectures. And likewise, our student union, MedSoc, are very active, and they have one large portion of it is just for education, for their educational branch. And they create regular workshops and training schemes for the students of the higher years to really help the younger year students learn the important information, as well as how to do the exams. I won't lie to you, it's not easy. And because of that, and because of the Bohemian system here, again, unlike in the UK, for instance, where you have one set date for the exam and you do it on that day and that's it. If you don't pass, tough luck. Here, we treat you more as adults, and we expect you to be in control of your education, in control of your studying. So within reason, the students can choose when they take their exams. We have 2 exam periods, both in the springtime, in February time, and then in June. But there are exam dates available throughout the whole year. By having the structure of our university enables us to maintain this youthful outlook and this modern way of teaching, because the faculty itself is controlled by the faculty senate, the academic senate of the faculty. This is 30 people elected every 3 years, of which 50% are made up of students. So 15 students, 15 academics, teachers are elected. And they choose who the dean is, they choose what the funding is, what the curriculum is, everything to do with the faculty. This is what their role is. And they are the oversight committee of the faculty. And we currently have, I think it's 6 students from our international cohort are part of this academic senate, the faculty, 6 out of the 15 students. So you, the students, have a very large input into your education, your studies, into how everything goes. And I think that's really vital so that you can help us and help you maintain the highest quality of education throughout.
Thank you very much. Next question, I personally like it the most. What is expected of me as a student? Kindly reveal the 10 commandments of a student at your university. Doesn't have to be 10.
Okay. So, to be very focused, to be very dedicated, to be a noble, a generous person, to be human, to be well educated, to have passion for your patients, and to strive to get new knowledge all your life, because medicine is not limited to your graduation. It's a lifelong learning process, and I am myself learning all the time. And I'm sure the same is with Professor Brisbane. So we are always in a kind of vicious circle to get better knowledge, etc. Okay, so I think this is the main point. So working on yourself to be a better person, to be a noble person, to help patients, this is very important. Just to add briefly, in Zagreb we have a system of exams 3+1. That means that there are altogether 4 chances to pass the exam. First chance you get at the very end of the course, if the course is, for instance, in a block system. That means that it is presented in a limited period of time, and then at the very end there is an exam. There are also courses that are relatively large, like anatomy, pathology, pharmacology, pathophysiology. They are extended through the academic year, and then you have classical exam periods, as already mentioned from colleague from Prague. So it's winter and summer and autumn exam periods. But in short, it's not the end of the world. If you fail the exam for the first time, you are given 3 additional chances. But I wouldn't advise you to go for a 4th chance. It's in front of the commission, where you have actually 2 examiners from the department given, and then 1 external examiner also joins. So this is the stage where you are, on the verge to drop down the year. Okay, I think I clarified it a little bit. Sorry for this extension.
Thank you very much. Professor Brisbane, what is expected of me as a student? What are the 10 commandments of Charles University?
University life, medical school, is not just about education on how to become a good doctor. It's about education of life. It's about learning, of course, medicine, learning the subjects that you are wanting to work to practice in the rest of your life, but it's also about learning about life. This is you really becoming that adult of whom you're going to be for the rest of your life, the rest of your career. Professor Jezek said beautifully, I think, what's expected of all doctors, really. University, though, is also time for enjoyment. And there is the old adage, the old saying, work hard, play hard. And you need to have time to relax, to be able to actually take in the information that you are learning. I expect of you all to behave in the utmost professional and moral behavior. You are members of the society who are regarded in the highest of terms, and people will look up to you, and they expect you to be these statues of moral, ethical righteousness, goodness, in whatever aspect that may be. And so I expect you all to behave appropriately, especially when you are representing the university, the faculty, and yourselves. Patient safety is paramount. There is nothing more important than the patient's safety. And my personal belief is the only way to treat all of my patients is how I would like to be treated myself, or I would want my loved ones to be treated. And that's how I expect you to behave, interact with your patients, and I expect you to give your teachers the adequate respect, the staff the adequate respect that's due, as they will to you. So what do I expect of you? What are the 10 commandments? This is, for you to decide as individual about how you want to be for the rest of your life. how you want to be regarded, how you want to behave the rest of your life. So I think that's the way probably the best way to explain it. What I would say though, sorry, just what I would say is that, you know, coming away from home is not easy. Living away from home, away from the society, the culture that you're used to, can be very difficult, can be quite daunting. So it's important that you have support for that, both in your friends and also within the faculty. And so understanding that, we have, in our place, we have a student counsellor that is available for you, who is, although they are funded by the faculty so that we pay her fees, that's the limit of the interaction. So whatever problems a student may have, whether they're homesick, whether they're broken up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, whether they're having troubles with studies, whatever's going on in their life, they can have meetings with this lady who herself is a foreigner here. She's South African, moved here only about 3 years ago. So she understands entirely what it's like to be a foreigner. She's trained in psychology, she's trained in student counselling, she's trained in nutrition so that the students don't maintain a diet of McDonald's or Burger King. Healthy body, healthy mind. And she's trained in study techniques. She's not a doctor. She's not going to teach you anatomy. She's not going to teach you biochemistry, histology, all these things. But she can help you in guiding you in a manner of how to study, to keep on top of things. And everything that you discuss with her, stays between you and her. Will never come back to the faculty, will never be on your records or anything else. This is a person you can go to in absolute discretion, and she will help you through it. So what do I want from you? What's the 10 Commandments of Success? Is to be the best person you can be.
Thank you very much. Will you allow me as a student to do clinical rotations in my home country, and how frequent, Professor Ježek?
The answer is yes. First of all, let me mention that in the 6th year of our study, that is actually the final year, there is a window that is called clinical rotations, which you can do either here in Croatia or abroad. It can be your native country, but it can be America, it could be Canada, it can be Germany, whatever you choose. Students organize it most frequently themselves, but we also provide assistance. So there are approximately 3 months during this final year that you can spend abroad, and then you come back to graduate and to be promoted, hopefully, to be a medical doctor. But there are also other possibilities, as already mentioned, like Erasmus, which is mostly used by medical students in terms of clinical rotations and not so much studying. Why is this the case? Because unfortunately, throughout Europe, the curricula at individual medical schools are rather different. So it's rather difficult to find an ideal match where you can actually go for 1 year of studies, medical studies abroad, but this is not excluding possibility. So for instance, in Grenoble, in France, they have exactly the similar 4th year of medical studies as we. So it's a very fortunate circumstance. Otherwise, I have to admit, still in Europe, there are a whole variety of curricula, although the medicine, as Professor Brisbane told, is the same. Okay, so there are also summer practice possibilities that you can use, and we have, I think, more than 20 international bilateral agreements to some of our American and Canadian partners, for instance, University of McGill, University of Toronto. In the US, we have 5 partners, but they also come to us. And there is also possibility to learn from international faculty. For instance, The King's College London provide us with excellent free group of gynecologists that come and teach. But we have in average 15 to 20 international faculty members that also share their experience and teaching with us. So there are a lot of things you can do. And we offer recently 2 online elective courses that are done together with German universities.
Thank you very much. Professor Brisman, will you allow me as a student to do clinical rotations in my home country, and how frequent?
Not only will I allow you, I actively encourage it. You as students we want you to be the best possible doctors. And it's not a case necessarily of one size fits all, because every country has slight variances in their healthcare system and the way that they provide healthcare. For me as a doctor from the UK, used to the NHS system, coming to work here was a huge culture shock in having to code for procedures and charging it and asking for insurance cards. In the UK, that doesn't exist. So I think it's very important that you as students gain experience from other healthcare systems. One of the advantages I loved about the UK postgraduate education scheme for doctors, dentists after graduating is that you are forced as part of the postgraduate deanery rotations to change hospitals as you're working as a doctor, to gain experience from other hospitals. When I was doing it, I was, I didn't like it. Why'd I have to move every 6 months or so to a different hospital, just getting used to this hospital and this team. In hindsight, having done it, the experience was invaluable, because there were some hospitals, some teams which were fantastic, some which were, I would choose my words carefully, not so great. But I learnt equally from both. I learnt that there were things that I like. I learned there were things that I don't like. By seeing all these different ways of doing something, and even if it's the same thing being done in different ways, I learned that way I don't like it. That's not good results. That way I really like it. That was fantastic results from that. So I'm gonna, in my career, I won't do that and I will do that. Or there could be something, of course, in between that you as a doctor then can make a decision as to how you best want to perform your practice. Because we're old, we have a little advantage in history of time, the availability of time. So historically, we've had some very strong connections. And for the likes of, I don't know, in the UK, we had the highest possible connection with St Andrews University, which is where Prince William and Harry went to study. We have extremely close connections with Oxford and Cambridge. And during the Second World War, when there was a Nazi invasion of then Czechoslovakia, our students that managed to escape were taken in by Oxford University in England. And it's the only time in history that Oxford University gave a degree of medicine in the name of Charles University to our students. We hold with Zurich University, we hold with Washington State University, with Sydney University, some very, very high relationships and affiliations. On top of that, with Erasmus, we have the highest number of students both coming in and going out on the Erasmus courses, which I think is wonderful. But we also maintain specific relationships with certain university hospitals. So in Israel, we have with Wolfson and Asaf al-Rafer, and we're currently in negotiations with Sheba. In America, we have with a couple of universities, I think like Dr. Fazierek said, with some various hospitals in the States, both on the East Coast and the West Coast. In the UK, in fact, the UK, I was just approached by Wales and North Wales Health Education Board that we will, if we can start sending our students to do collaborative education with the Welsh Education Board. Buckinghamshire NHS Trust also approached me. We have with Swindon, in Luton, in Plymouth, in Portsmouth, and up north as well, where we send our students in Germany, in Chemnitz, and in other hospitals. So we have certain close relationships that have been ongoing for a number of years. I mean, our history is that even since 1348, we've always taught in a foreign language. Initially, it was in Latin and Czech, and of course, since the fall of the communist occupation, it's been in English and in Czech. So for more than 30 years, we've had this course running, which has given us the advantage of time to build up these relationships. During the preclinical years, it is possible, but most students don't do it because really, you know, to get that basic clinical knowledge, preclinical knowledge, or theoretical knowledge is really important. So for your understanding on how to problem solve with the clinical medical problems later on. In the clinical years, so most of our Israeli students will do at least a semester or sometimes longer in Israel, in Wolfson or Safar. And that's why we're trying to expand it to gain more hospitals there for our students to go there. A number of our students go to the States and do rotations in the States, most commonly in Chicago, North Carolina, and of course in California we have the accreditation for there. With the UK, again, the rotations are on a yearly basis, and same with Germany. We've got several students who are in Germany at the moment in our 4th and 5th year. How often? My personal opinion is this, that your education is important to get you the education and the experience from wherever you may want to work in the future. We are the guarantors of the quality of your education though. So if you do education abroad, it has to fulfill at least our syllabus, our minimum requirements, or better than that. And you have to pass our exams. Whether you pass the exams in the local country, wherever you do it, that's wonderful. But if their exams are easier than ours, then I'm sorry, then you'll have to either do more with us or at least pass our exams. As long as you can fulfill those criteria, then I'm happy for you to do as much abroad as you desire. But we can't allow you to get any less of an education abroad than we would provide you ourselves. And we have requirements, like Professor Jezek said, we have requirements in summertime that we require our students to go and get electives abroad. From, I think in the 2nd year, there's a nursing requirement all the way through to the end of clinical studies. That pretty much answered it.
Thank you very much. My last question. Can you shortly describe my life as a student, my non-learning experience as a guest in your country?
First of all, I think you would be pleased by the international atmosphere in Zagreb, but also along the coast, because annually we receive 20 million international guests. So it's not that you would be, you know, in some kind of isolated Middle European country where there are no foreigners. On the contrary, we are used to them, and we enjoy to provide services for them, but also living with them. If you enter shops or somewhere else, you know, you will be able to address people in English down there, but you should also learn some Croatian. I think among the questions that were posed here in the panelist, I guess it's very important to note that in the first 3 years of your medical studies, you will be also exposed to essentials of Croatian language. It's a necessity because from the very first year you are going to be exposed to patients, and we have one longitudinal course which is called the Fundamental of Medical Skills, which includes both communication to the patient and some situations, urgent situations, emergency medicine situations like fainting in the tram, or what would you do with a patient that has some other urgent situation. So this enables you actually to, I think, enjoy your studies, to however feel competent, and at the end of the studies you will have the wide opportunity either to work in European Union or in both Canada or America, also Australia or New Zealand, and in short throughout the world, I think. We also have a very positive with the State of Israel Ministry of Health, I never encountered any problem in recognition of our diplomas. So that's in short from my side.
Thank you very much. Professor Brisman, how would you describe my life, my non-learning experience as a guest in your country?
I think many people know Prague and Bohemia. What it's like as a city is why it's one of the most popular tourist destinations. I want to start by echoing what Professor Ježek said, that I think it's very important. One of the reasons why I chose to study in Prague was to experience another language, another culture. And Croatian and Czech are different languages, but they're both Slavic languages, both Latin-based, Latin alphabet. And I can't stress the importance, the value of learning this language and learning these cultures. Because when I returned to the UK, my everyday practice, there was a number of patients who were Polish, who were from other Slavic-based languages, and even Russian, which is Cyrillic alphabet, but is a Slavic-based language, I could understand. And I could have a basic communication. And there's nothing more important than communication with your patients. So by learning Croatian, by learning Czech, and likewise, we here have, for the first 3 years, we teach you Czech, get around town Czech, medical Czech, so you can communicate more easily with your patients and with life here. I think it's really important that the students do learn the language, even though everything is taught in English. And again, Zאgreb is a famous historic and very popular tourist destination. So people speak English there, people speak English in Prague. I always try and persuade our students not to relax into the ease of just speaking English because everyone speaks English. Part of the beauty of why you're coming abroad is to really learn and experience another language, another culture. As for student life, look, you're going to get a more accurate answer by speaking to our medsoc, by speaking to our students, than some old professor like me. Prague, Czech Republic is known that the beer is cheaper than water. And that's not a joke. If you buy a bottle of beer and a bottle of water, beer is actually cheaper than water. And like in France, if you're taking a medical history in France and asking them about alcohol consumption, then they won't count wine as alcohol consumption. And same here, if you're taking a patient history and say, do you drink alcohol? No, 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 no. Beer? Oh, of course I drink beer. I'm Czech, of course I drink beer. The student life is very good here. The nightlife, I mean, Prague is open 24 hours. There is everything and anything you can imagine. Every type of person, every color, creed, race, religion, sexuality, gender, everything is going on here. The clubs, the bars, the cafes, the kavarnas, the coffee places, the tea houses, everything exists here. Skiing is an hour and a half away. We've got what we call the Czech Swiss Alps are about an hour's drive away. The historic castles and all these wonderful, amazing cultural destinations are within minutes of day trips easily of Prague. Prague is the epicenter of Europe. And, I have to say that for Croatia, I love holidaying in Croatia. The Croatian coast, I have to say, is beautiful. And I take my family there. It's very family friendly as well. So both are safe, both are great destinations for students. I'm glad that Prague has moved away from being the stag destination that it was many years ago. It was like that because you can imagine what the life is like here, but it's now much more, luckily we've moved away and they've gone further east, and people come here more for the culture. But as a student for sports, they love their sports here. Through to activities, extracurricular activities, you can experience everything here.
Thank you very much. The information that you have delivered today is extremely valuable to our students. Thank you very much. Do you have a final message before we are done with this debate to our audience, Professor Ježek?
Yes, thank you, first of all, on this opportunity. Lovely to meet also Professor Brisman from Prague. Please, after this Corona time, I would be very pleased to meet you in person in Zagreb. Do come, apply. It's not, you know, mission that is impossible. It's possible, but it requires a significant strength and you know, diligence and knowledge. So apply and get into the program. Thank you very much.
Professor Brisman, do you have a final message to our audience?
First of all, thank you all for your time listening to us. I hope it's been a bit fun and a bit interesting for you all. The opportunities standing in front of you are vast. The decision is not easy. I think in your situation, listening to this, I would love to study at either one of these. I can't recommend highly enough both Zagreb and Prague. They are both wonderful, historic, highly respected universities and medical schools. And whichever one you choose to go to, wherever you choose to go, I wish you the best of luck in your career, in your studies, in your life. This university, my alma mater here, we welcome you. With COVID, it's difficult times. A lot of our students are still studying distance studies from abroad. Those that are here are able to make clinical studies. Prague is now a green zone, so everything is still going on. Which means we can also, in our open days for universities, you can come and visit us. I hope things only get better. I hope you all stay safe, and I wish you really the best of luck with your studies. Please feel free to contact myself, my team, our MedSoc, or Dr. Cohen and his team will really be able to inform you on everything you need to know. So if I don't see you here in Prague, I look forward to hopefully meeting you in Tel Aviv, Yerushalayim. Toda rabba lachem, toda rabba l'kolam.
Thank you very much for this.
Shalom. This is what I can tell.
Thank you very much. I wish you will have a very good weekend. The information that you have delivered today is extremely valuable to our students. And I'm sure that this session will serve them well. Thank you very, very much for being here. It was very pleasant, very informative. Thank you. Stay healthy and safe.
You too. Take care.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.